My project, exact to a nicety in calculations of profit and loss, global anti-blackness, control science, and the rise of industrial capitalism, explores the creation of an elite discipline for controlling the masses. In response to the turbulent 17th century, which was characterized by revolt and resistance, the commercial, political, and intellectual authorities of the British Atlantic in the 18th century invented new ways to exercise and justify power, developing what I call control science, which brought together everyone from the inventors of the steam engine and the man who discovered oxygen to famous abolitionists like William Wilberforce and government officials. The philosophy of enslavers and the accounting of slave traders were control science's core foundation. Samuel Martin of Antigua, for example, wrote a popular how-to guide for enslavers that included detailed information on running a plantation, including how to control human beings, as well as how to manipulate soil and transport goods, while also articulating a worldview of self-interest that justified doing all of this. This portrait of a cold, rational, isolated human existed in opposition to both racist projections and radical realities in the Black Atlantic. It was no coincidence that elites like Jeremy and Samuel Bentham, the creators of the infamous panopticon, created a belief system, likewise based on self-interest, that abhorred collective action, altruism, and even emotion. All were powerful components of the Black resistance that elites in this period so feared, particularly in the wake of the Haitian Revolution. These elites' ideas on how to exploit people and why, a cynical worldview that presented humans, again, as isolated individuals and machines driven by interests, can be found today in corporate boardrooms, mainstream economics textbooks, and of course, political discourse. Control science as a concept helps us dismantle anti-blackness by understanding its foundations and their pervasive legacies. Contemporary capitalism, from McKinsey to McDonald's, owes its structure and governing ideas to 18th century anti-black ideology. The architects of control science, in other words, were architects of modernity. Control science played a pivotal role in both the rise of prisons and the police who put people in them. Jeremy Bentham, for example, wrote the 1798 legislation that created the first modern police force in London, in tandem with West India merchants, i.e. enslavers. There is a direct line from Victorian workhouses, likewise, deliberately made dismal in order to keep out what were called undeserving claimants, to Reagan's claims of welfare queens. An exploration of control science, in other words, reveals the anti-blackness behind liberal capitalism that often presented itself as colorblind. This not-so-secret history of the methods of racist capitalism, which ultimately will be a future book, argues for the centrality of racial justice in any struggle for economic or political equality, and attempts to aid in these struggles and struggles against anti-blackness today by providing a practical history of some critical tactics, strategies, and mindsets that currently uphold it. Participating in the Insurgent Intersections workshop group has been a privilege and really helped me refine this work.